Welcome to the Challenges of Change, the podcast where we explore the transformative journey towards self-improvement and personal growth. I'm your host, Laura, a mindset coach in the health and fitness industry, here to guide you through the hurdles that life throws at you. In each episode, we'll delve into practical strategies and insightful discussions to help you manage stress, regulate your emotions, upgrade your mindset, and ultimately reclaim your sense of worth. I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey of change, challenges, and self-discovery. And we are back for another episode of the Challenges of Change. And today we are going to be talking about a very common topic, procrastination. But first, I'm going to tell you a little story about it because we learn more through stories to begin with. I'm not safe from procrastination myself. And actually, I don't know if you guys know this, there are technically 3 styles of procrastination. So when we think of procrastination, we tend to think of kind of the conscious back burner, like we know we have something to do, but we don't want to do it. So we're actively and consciously putting it on the back burner to attend to later. But then there's creative avoidance. So this is when you do something that's kind of like a quick win. It makes you feel like accomplished. It gives you that quick satisfaction, but you're still avoiding the most important thing. So this might look like having a project that you know you need to work on, but cleaning the house or folding your clothes or answering a few emails just to get that kind of quick stuff out the door. But the one that typically gets most people, at least the people that I typically work with, are priority dilution is what it's called. And what it means is you face what's most urgent over what's most important. And from a superficial lens, like, if there's fires, we got to put out the fires. But this is where it gets interesting. If you're someone who regularly engages with priority dilution, your brain will subconsciously put you into positions where you'll have fires so that you do postpone doing what's most important. So let me give you an example. I currently have a lot of things going on in my life. I'm in this awesome leadership program that is 9 months. Every other Wednesday, it's a full day with my 50 other classmates, but it's very hard on my schedule and my classmates' schedule because you don't get to work one day every other week. I'm selling a house, buying a house. One of my family members is having surgery, and a platform that I deal with work kind of just increased their prices 4 times over. So I'm having to completely rebuild something that took me a year. So I have a lot of things, right? But I'm procrastinating because the thing I actually need to do is finish my SOP and apply for speaking. And I have a bunch of fires that I can attend to. And that's precisely what's been happening. Because the SOP or the speaking isn't urgent, it doesn't require me to attend to it, I'm happy to put it on the back burner, which has happened for months, even before these fires were here. And I had different fires. It was the holidays, and then we were traveling, and then I had other things I had to do to get ready for the holidays, and on, right? The point being, when you struggle with priority dilution or even creative avoidance, just procrastination in general, we don't realize how we work against ourselves and how we distort our own perception, making it harder. And we put ourselves in positions where we feel a sense of agency to deliver. Because what's going to end up happening? We procrastinate, boom, the pressure hits. We feel stressed. We don't know why we keep doing this to ourselves, but then we get it done. And it's because we avoid until we're stressed. And that is the pressure that gets us over the finish line. But what if it didn't have to be that way? That is why we are talking today. What's interesting, and I learned this from Adam Grant, is that we often think that procrastination is a time management issue. And it's not. It's an emotional management issue. Why don't I do the SOP, or why don't I apply for speaking? Well, one, doing the applying for speaking stuff, it is kind of a drag. It drains my energy. It takes a lot of time, just boring and mind numbing. Why don't I do the SOP? Because I have to pick up from writing something that I've already kind of started, and then that makes it harder for me to get started. So it feels like more work than dealing with the very hot potable fires that are in front of me right now that also are urgent. So what I'm avoiding is boredom, work, and just annoyance, quite frankly. But why is this important? Because we all procrastinate, we all put ourselves in pressurized situations, we judge ourselves, and we create this whole narrative that isn't true about ourselves because of it. But the moment you realize it's not about time management, it's about emotional management, this becomes an emotional intelligence challenge. And that is a totally different lens that allows us to build our skills and to overcome our obstacles, having a little bit more of a say in how we shape ourselves. So you've heard me say this before, that self-awareness is a superpower. And that is completely true even here, especially when it comes to procrastination, because we talked about the three different types. The I know something I'm avoiding, that's like the conscious procrastination most people think of. But when it comes to priority dilution or creative avoidance, most people don't recognize that they're doing that. They think they're just being productive elsewhere, when really they're downgrading their prioritization because they're avoiding emotions. So if you want to have more agency, if you want to develop yourself more, if you want to kick procrastination's ass rather than letting it kick your ass, then you need to recognize when you're doing it, whether that's through creative avoidance or priority dilution or just the normal procrastination, because that is where agency lies and that is where choice is. And when we have a choice, we can do something about it. So, what do you do once you actually have awareness? I always encourage my clients to ask themselves two questions. The first, what emotion am I avoiding experiencing by not doing the thing that I know I should be doing? And it could be more than one, as you heard me say. Mine was drainage, work, annoyance. Okay, so what emotion am I avoiding? And then when would I be most equipped energetically, spiritually, mentally to do that thing? So, for instance, I had a client who she was doing creative avoidance and priority dilution. And she kept putting these big projects on the back burner. And then she would be really, really stressed out and pull all nighters. And it was a whole thing. What we realized is she needs time to process when she's doing a big project. And she doesn't know where to put that processing time in her day. So she avoids the big project because she doesn't have the space to process. So we experimented. I asked her, what emotion are you avoiding? And for her, it was stupidity. And then I asked her, when would you feel most energetically, spiritually, and mentally equipped to do the hard tasks? She said the morning. I was like, okay, let's experiment. So we ran a couple different experiments, but the one that ended up winning the gold, so to speak, is she looks at the project that she's avoiding the night before she closes. And then she uses her drive home to process, to think about it, and just kind of putting it on the back burner and letting it like toast a little. So then when she comes in the morning, she's already been thinking about it for a few hours and doesn't need to reset or restart. This has actually given her such a bump in the morning in the beginning of the day because she doesn't feel like a failure or like she's dumb. And she's not. She just was avoiding her emotions. So, what emotion am I avoiding and when would I be most equipped to do it? And as you just noticed, you kind of need to set some guardrails, kind of like bumpers when you're bowling. So, with that client I just mentioned, you might have the best idea, but this is the path I think I should take. Well, what you think you should take and what your brain and body will actually acclimate to could be completely different things. That is where you get to experiment and run different like sequences and at least 3 reps of each to see like which variation works for you. So then you can actually be the leader of yourself versus feeling like your emotions are controlling you. Now, one other caveat with procrastination, because procrastination is an avoidance technique. A lot of people will find themselves in like excessive avoidance, excessive procrastination until it's painful because pain motivates. What I often encourage people to do is put up those bumpers like we do with bowling of how many projects, be that personal or professional, that they can be procrastinating on. So then they have to be more decisive. So for most people, it's like 1 to 3, either personal or professional. And they had to create different categories through experimenting. That's what we figured out. And after they get to 3 projects that they're procrastinating on, they have a new one come up. They want to procrastinate. And the only way they can procrastinate is by doing one of the 3 that's already on their procrastination list or doing that one. So it forces them into a little bit more of a self-management system. If we take a step back and actually think about ourselves, our motivation, kind of what I talked about last episode, but also just how we want to lead ourselves. We grew up in a school system that said, read this, study this, take this test, get this grade. That tells you where you are. And then we come into life without teachers, without our parents telling us what we need to do. And we somehow have to find the systems and the procedures and the habits that actually can help us show up the way we want to. Transparently, you're not always going to like what you're able to hold yourself accountable to and what you're not able to hold yourself accountable to. I haven't met anyone who does fully like that. They like some things they can hold themselves accountable to, but everyone is freaking human. And we're all going to have things we can't hold ourselves accountable to. Rather than getting frustrated with your procrastination or with how you work, my challenge to you is to accept it, which means you don't have to like it, but you're just not at war with it. So accept it and then figure out a system of how to have your own back with it. For instance, I have multiple reminder systems. I have emails that I send myself. I have notifications. I have reminders. I have Post-its. And I get annoyed with how many reminders I need. And it gets the job done. It makes me feel like I can lighten my mental load. And that's the freaking point. So regardless of where you are on your procrastination journey, on your personal development journey, stop fighting yourself with this and connect more to like what works for you. And if you don't know what works, experiment. But before I close this off, I wanted to give a special shout out to the Challenger Circle. You may have heard me mention this before. This is the new community because we just had like a whole beta testing for the last few months and we got great feedback. So we simplified everything. This is such a better system. It's such a more simplistic, done for you micro habit building where you can be in your busy life doing what you need to be doing, getting shit done, and working on yourself without extra load. How do you do that? We have put all the infrastructure in. We're never asking more than 3 minutes at a time. So you will literally get prompts to think, respond, and that's it. And then your coach, because you get a coach in the Challenger Circle, does the rest for you. So if you've been struggling to regulate your stress or to find a better balance, or you're just overwhelmed or burnt out or anxious or depressed, or you know someone who is, please come and join us in the Challenger Circle because this is what it was meant to be the whole time. And our members helped us see how we can make it even easier for you. Community is more important than ever. So we really hope to see you there. But share this with a friend, comment below, let me know what you think. Let me know what some of your challenges are so we can talk about relevant stuff. And remember, procrastination is an emotional issue. So have your own back, get to know yourself because you're worth it. Until next time.
Thank you for joining me on today's episode of The Challenges of Change. If you're ready to stop stressing and reclaim your sense of worth, be sure to visit my website at www.changebychallenge.com. There, you'll find loads of resources, blog posts, and information on how to work with me, Laura, as your personal mindset coach. Remember, if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. Don't let burnout or any other obstacle hold you back from living your best life. Take the first steps towards positive transformation today. Thank you again for listening. Stay confident, stay inspired, and embrace the challenges of change. Until next time.